Oh, that's dark. Ooh, there we go. It's a little bit better there. Anyway, we'll just cut over here. Whoa! Well, happy Saturday, everybody. Joseph Sunderman here, Creative Tech. Getting a little bit of a late start. Again, I need to get ahead of the show and be prepared, in advance, scheduled shows in advance. We were there before I went on my 2-week trip, but yeah, that's what we're doing this show for. We're doing it as a one-man band, and we have roughly an hour, maybe 2 hours that we put into this weekly on top of the 1 hour show that we're doing right here. So this 1 hour I've committed, and this is the 19th episode where we have on a Saturday. The only time that we've taken a break was those 2 weeks when the family, we took off for 2 weeks. And outside of that, for the last 19 weeks, we've had a few mishaps where I was helping the wife. We did a yard sale over the summer, and realized at 1 o'clock, I have a show to do. And we were there was no way. So I did that a day late, which is, life happens. At least I stuck to it and did it the next day. And there was another time that we were, a few hours late. Outside of that, it's been rock solid. And just so everybody's aware, that's what this show's all about, is staying true and committing to something and putting in the work and actually looking at what you're doing and improving it over time. Can you grow? And I would say I am happy with the results. Looking at the Delta from day one, starting to network and get out there, and actually, when you tell people, I want to start a YouTube channel, and you pull up the framework, look, I already have the name and everything, I just haven't done anything yet. Now having 19 episodes, I know how horrible they are. You don't have to tell me how bad it is. I get it. But the fact that when I show somebody, there is something there now. Is it ideal? Is it the best I can do? No. But I'm pleased to see from episode 1 to now that there is structure and framework. So that's the essence of what we're doing here. Again, my name is Joseph Sunderman. I am a creative tech, not the creative tech, because I assume if you're watching this, you too are a creative tech. And the things we talk about on this channel are all geared towards the modern workforce. We are the creative techs of today, and we are the ones out there doing what we do. Now, I'm sure I could make this show look all polished and have an editor do all this, but I'm a very busy person, and I'm actually growing a business, and the channel, it's not about getting views or getting all that interaction. It's about getting the skill set, being able to do it. And I know in order to do it, I have to do it. And if I'm going to put that kind of time into it, I'm going to do it in a way that actually benefits and can document it and share and capture as much of it as I can to share with others. So this is me sharing with others my attempt at social media. Now, granted, typically when you work a lot, you're not playing on social media a lot, you don't post a lot. And then when you start working, you start making it a thing of work. Now all of a sudden, Joseph Sunderman is posting all the time. And it's all workforce related, and it's not very fun. Well, I don't know. For me, I think it's fun. I like doing it. Tonight, the wife and I were invited to a show in Kentucky where our friends Enemy are playing tonight. And, they invited us to come check out. We shot a video for them over the summer. Well, I guess it was late winter, and it got released springish, and they're on tour now. So they're coming through Kentucky. We're going to go swing by. I've been reaching out to David. He's the drummer for Enemy, and he's actually a drum tech. He's opened up and played and filled in for a lot of bands, that I idolized as a kid. Like, and the fact that we've connected, and I'm actually hoping, I'm looking for someone that will at least take one of my songs and help me like finish it and play it. Maybe that'd be cool to have him help with that. I don't know. We'll see what he's doing. I'm sure he's very busy. But anyway, to me, this is all work related. This is networking and building out my network. I'm sure they're going to want more videos down the road. And, when Will needs my help with one of them, Rigid 6 will be there with production equipment to, pull it up in the Tahoe with all the gear and just ready to rock and roll. Like, that feels good. I enjoy that shit. It wasn't easy getting there either. And when you get there, people don't like you and they're going to try to tear you down. But you ignore that. You stay focused. Anyway, so today's focus is about culture. Culture is definitely something that it's been on my mind a lot lately, not just, there's so many cultures we interact with and are a part of every day. And being in America with so many cultures that, trying to be the melting pot. So you look at your own personal life, and I have a very large blended family. That is challenging, the culture of that, because when you have a large blended family, people separate for reasons, usually because there's not alignment in a household culture. And it's not that, I don't know, life's difficult, and navigating through all this as a creative tech, it can be very challenging. And I think the first part, and that's why today's topics, the very first topic we're talking about is identity, or identifying, but understanding that everybody has an identity. And when your identity meshes with somebody else's identity, that right there becomes its own identity. And if you bring somebody else into that, you start to get yourself a little community. You start to get yourself a culture. You grow, and now you have your community. So those are our three topics today, by the way: identity, growth, and community. We have a formula now that we're trying, and it seems to be going well. It's helped make the topics and stuff. I fumbled around with it a bit today. I was fighting with AI more today, just because I'm wanting to be able to prompt it once and get my output. And I know I need to go through and actually write out like script-like detailed instructions for ChatGPT. I just don't want to. But the beautiful thing is, if I tell GPT to help me write out the script, it will. So I just got to quit fighting against it and get it done right by using the tool to help me build the tool. Yeah. Anyways, it's like the more virtual, and we're going to implode at some point. We're going to reverse everything so much to where it's just going reset button, glitch in the matrix. All right, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So, not a lot of projects going on right now, and I think we're past that part of the show. The agenda, the catching up part. Again, we're going to a show tonight. Midwest Con coming up in September. You're going to hear me talk about that a lot in August. So getting acquainted with those guys, starting to do a lot more LinkedIn posts, and going to try to get into a weekly habit so I can meet Rob's expectations of daily posts, which I get it, daily posts. And you shoot for the moon. Yeah, at least you'll land amongst the stars, or whatever the saying is. All right. So... culture, my lord, culture's all around us, and how a creative tech affects the culture. Some ways that I know I've affected cultures, I've alienated cultures, and as I've grown and noticed that pattern, I've learned to. It's not that I want to be adversarial or whatnot. It's just I am very direct and know what I want, and I would assume most people want a easy life as well, but we don't see the same path to get there, I guess. Either way, great intent, but the messaging I'm giving off isn't correct. So understanding how we influence the world we live in. I talked about this on a little short stream I did the other day, and I was talking about helping people in a time of need. And sometimes, when you see people just ignoring somebody that needs help, and we see it all the time in our society, our culture today. Somebody could be in need of help, and it's not our problem. It's not our job. And that's why when we started the Creative Tech, I don't want that mentality. I don't want that in our culture. So I was having a hard time with community. Like we switched it to network, and I'm like, maybe network is a good way to say it. This is the Creative Tech Network. Get part of the network. Get connected. No, that doesn't feel right either. And then I don't know what it was I listened to, but when they said the tribe, to me, that aligns with culture. Give to make the tribe better. That's the mentality. So I want to find a way to get others behind my mission of continuous improvement in education. So I have this master tech plan. We're helping businesses model themselves and how to, the way I got across to them to see my perspective wasn't directly through communication and talking. It was more through laying out my plan and simplifying the plan, what it was I was trying to do, and present that in a simple way for them to go, oh, I get it. And the next thing I'm learning to do is to quit telling people what to do and understand the direction they want to go in and find out how to get them to say what it is that they need to do. A good coach will get someone to you know what you have to do. Most people know what to do. It's just hard doing it. It really is. So, culture, how we impact culture. I know that was sloppy and all over the place. But what it all boils down to is live by example. And sometimes you'll hear lead by example, but every day, especially if you have kids, the do what I say, not what I do, that does apply to a certain age. But at some point, we have to look at the hypocrisy of this and be like, all right, wear your seatbelt. I'm not going to wear mine, though. I'm too good for that. Like, there's a line that gets crossed where you are now, you want your kids to wear their seatbelt even when you're not looking, then wear your seatbelt. Right? You want your kids to go to school and get good grades, then show up to work on time on every day. Get a good review. Living by example is a big component of the Creative Tech way mentality. Living with intent and living by example. Being aware of yourself and how you're affecting those around you, whether it's positive or negative. Understanding the way you want to do it and how you want people to perceive you. Well, now we're talking about today's first topic, identity. And that's exactly why we're making that segue right now. Because, hey, I feel like I did the 5 minutes on focus, which is culture. Getting better we're starting to feel better about our little structure here. All right. Identity. One of the biggest things that happens with relationships and things going downhill is that there's expectations that somebody has, and those expectations are not communicated properly. And somewhere recently I heard that, oh my Lord, I forgot what I was just getting ready to say. Can you believe that? All right. And this is why it's important to have a script. I'm having a Joe Biden moment right now. Wow. Living by example. Remember that being something. I don't know. We got into identity, so now we're talking about you because that's what living. Talking about the creative tech, living with intent. Lord, I have totally forgot what I was just getting ready to say. Maybe someone in the comments. Yeah, all of your comments flooding in right now. That's beautiful. I guess that's the beautiful thing about this point right here too, is that you could have a good show, be on a good roll, and be sticking to time, and then totally fall off track in the middle of a topic. That could happen. Anyway, back to identity. The main point of this discussion around identity is to make sure you are aware of how you affect your beliefs. Oh, that's where I was going, those beliefs. You have to align your beliefs with others, and unspoken expectations. Now I'm starting to see the light again. I knew I'd come back to it. I heard someone recently say unspoken expectations is resentment waiting to happen. Something along those lines. That's not verbatim. But that hits home. That's heavy. That's hard. That's keeping it heavy, and that's keeping it real. Unspoken expectations is resentment waiting to happen. So, and we have all these great sayings, right? We should get them plastered everywhere. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fail to the level of our systems. Someone brought that up on a hike this week. And shout out to Omid for having this founders hike. I met 4 awesome dudes this week. We need to get more females in the tech world. I've noticed it's not as geeky and creepy as it used to be. We're evolving as humans. Even the geeks are aging and becoming cool. So it's all right. We just need more diversity. And the most diverse thing we heard, well, we were in Kentucky, so I don't know what was more diverse, us or him, but that Southern drawl. Yeah, and who I used is a startup, and I'm trying to think. I know it's Jason. I met Jason. I met Logan, which is a virtual CFO, and I met Eric, which is a man full of theories that I hope to have on the show. I hope to have all of them on the show at some point. Greg Goshawan, I met with him last week. Just so many people I'm meeting, and I've started my CRM, all this stuff. Anyway, now I'm getting off track. Back to identity. Unspoken expectations are resentment waiting to happen. So how do you set expectations? How do you align vision and beliefs with others, and you have to know yourself before you can do anything. There's principles and values, the things that you do value. Like, do you value yourself? Do you value your education? Do you put time into it? Do you value having skill sets? Because if you don't have skill, the more utility you have, the more useful you are. And there's creators out there all over the internet right now saying the same thing. Alex Ramosi, he's a big component of, that whole aspect of your utility. He says when you're young, you should be putting in, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Sure. Yeah. And for me, it was playing guitar and, being creative and reading and learning and that was my passion back then. But, putting 12 hours a day into that doesn't make a lot of money. Do you put those 12 hours a day and 6 days a week into making money, putting it away and living cheaply, trying to get as many skills as you can? Do you only work 8 hours a day and then use the other 4 hours to go grind for free for somebody else? That way you can balance it out. I mean, exactly how do you spend that 12 hours? That's a big component of it too. You know, anyway, regardless of whatever you do, knowing where you are, you got to start where you are. You know, your identity, you can control aspects of your identity. You can't control every aspect of it. If you were born in a third world country, you can't just go, you know what? I'm going to live in LA and I'm going to have Wi-Fi, Tesla, Wi-Fi, PG. No, you got to be real. You can close your eyes and wish it all day long, but you're going to open your eyes and be where you were. So be real. You know, being real is heavy. Truth is fucking heavy. Face it. Deal with it. Now, if you happen to be in a situation that is not ideal, whether you were born into it or you live in a certain area, take a deep breath. Let's figure it out. What do you have control of? And with your perspective, sometimes when you're in the shit, when you're in the mess, you know, they say coming from the mud for a reason. And if you've come from mud, like if you've come from broken homes and you've come from abuse, you've come from addiction, if you've come from the mud, like a lot of us have, you appreciate things more. And but you can't see around you. You can't look around you when you're down in the mud. You need to get somewhere up high so you can take a look around you and see that there's communities, cities full of opportunity. And what do you think that looks like to people halfway across the world in these really shitty duppies? Just the plethora of opportunity. All they gotta do is walk to the edge of the city and everybody mowing. Like, nobody wants to mow lawns, nobody wants to do the labor shit, and these guys are dying to live. Like, can you imagine cultures where you're dying to get away from a culture so you can go live in another culture? Could you imagine working at a place that nobody cares about what they do day to day, and then going to a job where everybody validates each other and supports each other, and when somebody needs a break, they say, yeah, go take a break, I'll cover for you? Culture. That's everything, and that's why we're talking about this today on Creative Tech. So yeah, you gotta know what you want. Your identity is very important. So that was a little bit of a deep dive on identity. Now let's talk about the show a little bit, huh? Let's talk about what it is we're doing here. This big lab, we call it. We've broken it down to 3 steps. And really, I wanted an organic flow. I wanted someone that sees this for the first time. Their experience is stupid simple. What's this idiot talking about? Does he make sense? Do I align with his beliefs and what he's saying? Does what he says sound good? You know, I don't know if I finished, but when you're in the mud, you cannot see things. So you need to getting with somebody, a creative tech that's been through the mud and got out of it. They've been up here. Even if you've been up here for a moment or visited and you had to get back into the mud, living up here, you see so much and you learn so much that if you were put back into the mud, you know what to grab onto. You know how to get out of it much quicker. Get a mentor. Drop your fucking ego and get somebody that knows how shit works. When I was in the mud, my ego, my pride kept me upset, kept me anxious, kept me thirsty. Shit sucks. And if you can figure out a way to accept wherever it is that you're starting, yeah, that's accepting where that is, learning what you can do, and finding someone to help you get out of the mud. It's huge. So I hope you guys realize that. I wanted to wrap that up on identity. I don't think I hit that home. Anyway, back to the show. So Midwest Con is coming up this month. And I definitely am going to be posting more about it, talking about it. And I remember now that I'm on LinkedIn, I'm sitting here cussing like a storm. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm so early in the game where I don't feel like I can I can't Gary Vee it, right? Like, what the fuck? I just did. Shit. Damn. Stop. Bottom line is my mouth. I'm getting comfortable here. I need to watch it. I feel the more comfortable I get, though, the more I can let it flow. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm starting to get more confident on the camera. I need to watch my mouth, especially on LinkedIn. It's not that I need to watch my mouth, I guess. It's just I don't want to lose credibility because I'm up here cussing like a sailor. So I do need to watch it. 30 people is part of the group right now, and I have not really pushed all of the. I could have probably asked in a meeting. I've only been there for 2 weeks. I know that after this Midwest Con, if I execute and I add value to it, like I know I will. When I execute on this and after the fact, especially if things are going well during and the workshop happens and the talking happens, it makes me nerve-wracked to do it. I feel like I could throw it together and I could handle it and keep it. I could keep my set together and perform a good show. But the thing is that I know if I wait until then and then during the workshop, I just even mentioned like, hey, I want you all to follow along. This is not this workshop we just did here today that I just followed you through. I only started this back in March. Next year during Midwest Con, when we do this workshop again, the value of this workshop should be 10 times full because of the growth from you guys all right now starting the first wave. Because that's how I'm going to present the workshop. That's how my plan is anyway to go about this. Is this is my business like Cora. I've built this up, created this break fix shop all the way up into a MSP. And now that we're here and we're transferring and converting clients over into this model, I'm already 5 years ahead of the tech plan working on VCMO, which is our marketing and sales, because I know all the clients that are starting to align with the MTP right now and getting their tech stacks all healthy and getting their workforce better aligned and getting systems improved internally. As I start seeing those objectives roll in for having an app built to track this or to get a form for customers to do that, and all these SharePoint sites to be configured for this and that, setting up identity on 365, getting all the legal and compliance. When businesses start feeling more confident and know they're set up properly, DCMO will be coming around. We'll be able to just. I'm so excited about that. And everybody that starts becoming a creative tech and doing sessions, as that evolves, my vision includes. Oh, we just got this brand new client here in Cincinnati. We have all these students that are creative tech signed up. They're learning the modern workforce ways and how they can better align their personal tech stacks and integrate with other tech stacks. All this new business is giving me a laptop. Now I got to carry around two. Well, I don't know. Do you? Do they offer BYOD? Is there any, there's so many options out there, and depending on how you present it. So I really hope that we get more technicians, account managers. We have an engineering level in the background. Right now, we're such a small team that we share the engineering role. But I am excited for us to get enough clients and enough revenue coming through to where we can hire just a straight engineer for them to focus on back-end systems and get some of that off of my plate so I can even focus more on the VCMO role and traveling and taking videos and pictures and helping identities align. That's what I want. But what I also want is for everyone that's going to watch this, hopefully eventually when I learn how to communicate properly and add value to you, is that I'm hearing stories about how somebody that was trying to find their thing came and had a few sessions with us and is super excited because now they actually start to have some clarity in their direction and they start to build confidence each session they have with us. We're starting to see the delta and we're showing them, because by working with us, we'll show you how to track your progress. And it's easy to do in the most simplest ways. You just gotta, you're going to actually learn how to track certain things. Be like, oh, I want to track this, and like it. You don't need to track everything. You need to learn principles and values. What do we truly value here? What's important? Because there's so many moving parts. Even in this show, doing this right now, I am streaming on 5 platforms, and we got the whole. I don't trust you, but whatever. Yeah. We got everything. We got everything set up here, and the amount of stuff going on and keeping aware of everything happening. And to stay focused on the show while doing that. Yeah, it's a lot. So, yep, that's it. That's all I'm going to say to the show right now. I'm not going to go over the alignment form and the database. We'll save that for next week. But I definitely want to have some guests on soon. Talk to Greg. He and I are going to talk again. When we talk, I'm going to say, hey, how would you like to be the first guest on the Creative Tech? I mean, he's the first one that had a meeting with me and seems genuinely interested, so I'm hoping he's open to that. I talked to Rob Richardson definitely after MidwestCon. I know how busy he is, and I guess maybe we will have a show or a short, not a session, not something for me, but for him. Maybe we'll have something where I get to get on there, and I'll just share that with everybody. But because I'm sure everybody is so excited. Anyway, let's get back to. I don't know why I'm doing this little angle thing. Where are we? Growth, huh? Growth. We've talked about identity. Knowing yourself, knowing your values, knowing who you are, where you want to go. How do you grow? Well, let's say you know your identity now. Let's say you got your identity solid. And I really hope you do. I really hope that you feel confident and you know where you're going. There's a lot of people out there trying to figure it out. And just don't, once you pick something, you start going towards it, then you're on the right track. Because if it doesn't work out, you're going to go somewhere else. If it does work out, you're going to further pursue other options, and it's like a tree. It'll just branch off. You'll find opportunities all around you. Some of them are coming at you. Some of them are slightly walking away, maybe running away, flying away. You have to be aware. Keep your eyes open. Be present. And when you know who you are, what you want, and you're not after a dopamine fix constantly, have to check constantly, and by communicating with people, you're going to build funnels. So that way, when you sit down with your schedule to do things, you're going to see, oh, look at all these people that need things from me. The world is changing now to where you can get in a queue with somebody, and making that experience simple is great. So how do we grow? Well, we got to make those experiences easy. Rigid 6, Creative Tech, and Icora all do fundamentally, majorly different things. But at the same time, they all are working towards the same mission. So all of it's flowing through objectives and matters for me. That's how I've broken everything down. So how you can grow is build a structure for how you're going to deal with things. When I tell you to adopt my objectives, and I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do things, I'm telling you it works for me. Objectives and matters works for me. It works for me working with others. When I say, hey, we're doing a lot of stuff together. We have projects for this. We have projects for that. We have things happening constantly. I want to put a label on these things to help us communicate and make decisions quickly and efficiently. Objectives and matters. You could call them projects and tickets, whatever works for you. The reason why I use objectives and matters is because any project you do, there should be a why behind it. Oh, we're keeping, our gas pump at the, we're a truck driving company and we have a bunch of docks on this thing. We have our own gas station here where a truck comes here. We don't go to the gas station. The trucks come here and dump big underground tanks and things. Our pump needs replaced. Okay. When the order comes in to replace that pump, you just go order the same thing? How long has it been since that pump's been ordered? Or maybe they quit making the model that was there before. Maybe they quit supporting that model. And maybe when we just found that out when it quit working, because it's been working so good for the last 20 years. And now we're going to go out and try to order, replace it, get it fixed, because we got trucks starting to line up. We got to get this gas from the ground into the trucks. I'm making this whole stupid thing up off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm picking this. Anyway, I'd imagine there should be somebody that is aware of that resource and that resource could go bad at any time. And if it did go bad, what happens? How long are we going to be down for? How long does it take to get parts here? Do we even want to know that? Small businesses don't have capacity with lack of structure to do those things. So as a technology company, we're not just we're working with such small businesses. You're talking, $2 to $10 million a year. And to get them to have a internal system and to manage everything they have to manage and to do it well and to keep the identity of the business solid and just, it has to have systems for scalability. It has to have systems that checks the technology and the risks of productivity. What do we rely on most? What is it that keeps those things moving? What could be taken out of that equation to break the whole thing? The gas pump? Well, keeping the trucks running great, making sure gas is here, that's all we've barely ever had to do. We've never had, like that thing was built in the 40s. It works great. You don't think that the analog display on this thing and the rust building up all over it wasn't an indicator to you that maybe we should look into some contingency? It's all analog. It just works until it doesn't. And then what? To get a digital one, the cost, it's not a cost that they were even thinking of. They didn't even have a cost in their budget for it. Oh, could you imagine that? Now we gotta buy this super expensive ass thing that we thought would cost maybe, because when we bought this thing, it was only $6,000. I mean, back then that was a lot of money, but $60,000 for a small digital one that looks like it's a quarter of the size. What? Can I get something cheaper? I'm making up that number, by the way. Again, like I said, I'm making this up. This isn't an actual scenario. I don't know why I'm making this up. Where does this play into culture? How does this relate to growth? Well, for me, if you're not taking care of your assets to the level that, things will come up and bite you in the ass, and that I could see something like that actually happening and causing problems, but not under an MTP client that's working the MTP properly and has everything documented. It could an analog pump that be part of a tech stack? No. I don't know why I even brought up a gas pump. It's really stupid. The reason why I said gas pump is because a couple years ago, the last update I had to do on a SharePoint site wasn't even a couple years ago. It was like last year. A client of mine, they have a fleet of trucks, and they have their own gas tank. It's above ground, and they get it filled. They got a new one. I updated on their team site. New gas pump. Here's what to know. And that went out. So that's where I don't know why I came up with that. Systems to figure out your culture, to know what you want, what you value, your principles. Once you have your identity, the way we affect, how we affect culture is based off the systems and the way we handle things. If you are putting together sticks and duct tape for a product and hand it to somebody and it takes off and everybody starts using this thing, I mean, that's as good as your product. That's as serious as people will take you. If you are, and you're probably just showing them how to do it, you get paid cheap and they can go build it themselves. But if you take the time to get cost-effective materials to make a solid, reliable thing that works great, way better than sticks and duct tape, and you can get it mass produced somehow and get that out there, and now you're affecting culture, because now this one thing, like, it could be the simplest little things. We all want to save the world. The way I want to help save the world is I am adopting the infinite mindset that this is a game that we're playing, that we are all playing it together. There's no winners and losers. There is, if you're got the finite game mindset, where there's a trophy at the end and there's a loser at the end. Business is not a finite game. There's not a winner at the end of this. There are people living. We're in a society where things keep moving and turning. We lose this growing up at some point, that we are supposed to just get a job, make money, raise our family, and stick to our family. And it's about community, culture. We need to be aware of how we're affecting those around us. Do you want to be in a culture where if you, let's say, wrecked your bike and broke your leg and you're sitting there on the side of the road and you're like, waving at people just driving by, like, hey, I need help. Can someone please come over here? My phone fell. It's way over there. I can't walk. Like, can someone stop and help me? Like, zoom, 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 zoom. People are slowing down and gawking at you, looking at you like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Fucking freak. Blah, 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 blah. Seriously. When I see somebody that's in pain and in duress and uncomfortable, whatever, why is it that, we feel the need to help? Like, that's the culture I want to live in. So, like, I live by example, and I am building systems that help others meet their wants, their needs, and seeing my systems make improvement, get the results, getting the outcomes that I'm getting, especially now that I'm getting better with communication. Nowhere near where I want to be. This is just like playing music. I play my 20-plus-year-old guitar every night because I love the way it sounds. I love to make music. That's what we do when we work together, is we harmonize, we make beautiful music together. And the more my systems, the louder they get, the more they get utilized, the more people utilize them, the more I'm able to impact the culture of my community. So it's really exciting stuff, and I really hope you find your thing. So we got to grow. That's how creative techs affect culture. Is you got to grow your systems. What do we do? As creative techs, what do we do? I implore you to start a community. I want to support your community's purpose. Now, you have no desire to be the leader of a community. You are the type that wants to take your personal brand and find a community that you'll tie your personal brand to, because there's a lot out there. Like, am I willing to tie creative tech, or would I go work for a brand that said, hey, Joseph, drop the creative tech thing, come work for this brand? I would have to be like, well, do I have to stop working for Icora and Rigid 6? And how much of my time are you going to be taking from me? Because I understand the value of my capabilities now, and I've built something that's going really far. Like, are you willing to also take on Icora's mission? Or is Sessions going to continue to live? Or wait a minute, you're going to pay me a buttload of money to do what? Just walk around, take pictures, and travel the world? You're going to pay me how much money? Can I have time to offset my clients to a beautiful, partner that I can trust that will take good care of them, and I can still touch base with them and make sure things are good? Like, I don't want to, like, is this a 1099 thing? I'm not going to lock myself into anything. Like, I need guarantees. Like, there's better be a lot of money. Like, if you're going to pay me on day one, and I'm going to have enough money to where if this thing ends, I'm going to live just like this for the rest of my life without working again, then maybe we can talk. But I don't see you like having enough money to take over my time. You don't have that kind of money. And I know I'm not as valuable enough to accept that kind of money. There's something up. I smell bullshit. Karma will come back and bite me. I don't like it. I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. Community is definitely, who are you willing to give up your personal brand? Your community that you have this niche, and nobody out there is, nobody's looking out for this niche the way you are, or nobody's as passionate as you are, or there's nobody else there to give this niche what it needs. And unless somebody's going to back you or do it, you're the one to do it. Then that's your community. And if somebody else comes along that's better at it and wants to absorb your community and make you part of their community and sees your value and puts you higher up in that community to say, hey, look at this contributor. Like, they were in the mud working in their little world over here. Didn't even know we existed. We didn't know they existed. The funny thing is they were labeling things just a little bit differently, but when we did a search for XYZ, we found them. And there's like thousands of them, and there's hundreds of thousands of us. Bringing them in will help us get closer to our mission. In fact, I think that synergy between the two, like, would you bring your smaller community into that one for growth? Like, community to me, it's about the principle. It's the why behind it. It's, I'm going to talk about this this group my wife was a part of, Free Thinkers, I think, something along those lines. But this married couple started this thing, and as it grew, and they got this community really doing well. And this is my understanding. None of this is 100%. This is from my observation, and this was years ago. That really affected my wife a lot, and I support my wife a lot in everything she does. So obviously, it affected me. But I met this married couple a few times, and they were really nice. They were decent people. I enjoyed being around them, and they were living a decent. They had a little home in Kentucky, really nice home actually. And some new development, so the land was kind of rocks and like needed grass. I don't remember the community being like not a lot of trees and stuff. It needed, like, it was just new. But I remember they were coming up for the president was hired or was leaving or something, and they have bylaws now. They have a board. It actually is bringing in decent money. They're doing events every year. It's an actual decent sized thing. Kind of like a Midwest Con type thing. It's they had money, hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing through it, if not millions. Anyway, he was going on to some other big nonprofit, and based off the laws, there's going to be a vote for the next president. Well, when they built this thing, there was somebody else that was busting her ass for this group, who was very passionate. She brought her personal brand and gave her personal brand to this thing, gave it her all. And now there's an opportunity for her to be the president of this thing. Oh my, could you imagine how excited she was? And the married couple, they looked at her and was like, oh, yeah, that's exciting. But she wants to be the president. My wife wants to be the president. We started this. How passionate are they with it, do you think? Well, the community knows everybody, and the community loves everybody. The issue is the person that brought their personal brand into this. They're the ones that brought the majority of the people to the group after she brought her and her people to the group. And when there was a vote held, it was very difficult because it got down to a tie. And the tying votes, because I married somebody that just avoids conflicts, which is a big hurdle, and it's something I have to be mindful of, and it's dangerous because people like that will placate you, and I don't like for someone to tell me I'm taking an advantage of them. Like, whoa, what? If they're going to say, yeah, that sounds good, and really they don't think it sounds good, they're not being authentic. That's a problem. And yeah, now granted, I love my wife to death, and we all have our problems. Trust me, I have lots of issues too. So, I would love to put any of you under a microscope. I know my wife and I are awesome, so I'm not worried. But yeah, she avoids conflict, and it came down to her vote, and it was a 50-50 split. The way they divvy up shares and votes and things. We already knew there was more members that voted for the other girl or whatever, but for some reason there was like board member votes count, and like I don't know how it all worked, but it came down to my wife. And I don't think it came down to her. What it came down to was the last minute before the vote. They had everybody locked in before they were going to pull the vote the next day, and my wife was the last one to, and she didn't want to give them her answer. She was torn. She wanted to see how it went during the meeting, and here they are trying to conclude the meeting before the meeting happened. So, and she was also torn because she feels like some of the conversations and the way they were addressing it did not feel very it was very biased, which is a big issue in nonprofits and boards and voting and things of that nature, especially when money is involved. And there's a lot to it. And do I think they did anything unethical? I'm sure it pushed the lines, but they did own it, and they did hold their proper meetings. They did their proper, what they needed to do. And it was dirty because I feel like at one time, and again, I don't know how much of this is true, and I don't remember the name of the group. And bottom line is, this is just to show that you got to be careful what you do with your personal brand. You got to be careful with how you provide time and effort. It's valuable, and if you don't know your value, you got to figure that out. You got to figure out your anchors and where you're wanting to go. And I got to learn how to quit telling people what they got to do and ask them questions to help them get to their own, drive at the answers on their own. Like, do you want to live a hard life as hard in regret, or do you want to live life hard as in I tried a lot of things and I've learned a lot of things and I've experienced a lot of things, but I have no regrets? Yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know. I feel like today was a good session. I tried to stay on time as much as possible. The first half of this was solid. When I had my, moment, and I said a Biden moment, I'm not, I respect Joe Biden so much, and hearing people, because I find myself in the middle. I'm financially conservative. Ethically, I find myself to be more liberal. I think the beautiful thing about America is that there is a blend of socialism and capitalism, that it is a balance. It's a fabric, just like work life. We have to take care of our weak and our poor and our sick and our mentally ill. People that are living on the streets that can't take care of themselves, they are not well. And there are so many, watching the amount of food we throw away, just seeing our culture with people just driving by, people sitting, like, there is no empathy, there is no compassion. I am troubled every day, but at the same time, I look around every day and I see people helping each other up. I see stories of, I see people just getting on their feet and doing better, overcoming obstacles, accomplishing initiatives, having breakthroughs, making it through. Again, it's ugly. There's some really bad things that could happen tomorrow, today. Hell, there's going to be bad things that happen. Live by example, create the world you want to live in. That's what I'm here to do. I want people to love what they do and love their communities. Yep. Anyway, great session this week, everybody. Lots coming through August. So this is the last July session, and yeah, let's have an awesome August. Let's grow. Let's double this channel in August with the efforts that we're doing with Midwest Con. Let's get people filling out that alignment sheet. Let's get some guests in here. We've got 19 episodes. We're getting ready to hit number 20. This is getting ridiculous. This is crazy. Let's keep it up. Keep it heavy, everybody. Keep it real. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.